I met Temilola back in 2017, and she's someone I find truly inspiring and a fantastic guest for this episode. From producing Nigeria's first live-action animated film to overseeing projects at Relo Media, her skills span producing, development, and production financing, while her passion for bridging African and North American cultures truly sets her apart. We chat about the financial aspects of navigating a creative career based on her film industry experience, emphasizing the importance of adaptability as the industry evolves.
I'm still navigating the financial aspect of my creative journey. But then the thing is, I always encourage people be very adaptable. The industry is changing every day. Even in your personal life, beyond your company, it's good to also try to, keep on top of your finances. Like I said, make sure that you are very adaptable, keep iterating your business model.
Hello and welcome to the Money Awareness Podcast, also known as TMAP. Embark on a journey with us as we explore the world of money patterns and how they interconnect with your unique creative mind. Our goal is to help you unlock your prosperity by making one creative decision at a time. I am your hostess, Victoria Mateo. Let's get started. I can see that you're wearing your favorite color.
Yes. Oh my God, you remember? Yes. It's funny when I put it on, I actually didn't realize, to be honest. I just like, what can I wear? I didn't even think about. So I was in the spirit. Good, good, good.
Nice, I'm glad. You're shining with your spirit color.
I know. I know.
I think I mentioned that in every episode we're going from point A to point B because it's a map. We're
Yes.
trying to go from a place where we're not feeling the best to a place where we are feeling better. So it is very much focused on the behavioral side of the money awareness and creativity.
Yes.
So point A is going to be resistant, and we're going to go to point B, being go-getter or like being resourceful. Because usually when we're resistant, we don't want to do anything that it's not under our structure, what we know. It sounds easier than it actually is, but it's in the process of being flexible and actually like trying to be open and changing that we take action. And I find that, at least this is my impression of you, I find that you are such a go-getter and like a self-starter. And I thought that this was like perfect to discuss with you, going from point A being resistant to point B being a go-getter.
I don't obviously try to present myself to people as like a go-getter, but I'm happy that it kind of comes through from when people meet me or hear me talk or read my bio, because again, I was born and bred in Lagos, Nigeria. And it's like the hustle, it's the place of the capital of hustle, pretty much. And so the hustle DNA in me, I think I got that from growing up in Nigeria. Right. And such that when I moved to a new country, like obviously there were times when it was a bit shaky, and a bit uncertain and that comes with moving to a new country. But I was able to reach back into that DNA of hustle, of self-starting, of go-getting in me to actually help me thrive in this new country. So that spirit keeps me going, and it's like you get back up. You always get back up, put yourself back up. It can be hard, sometimes it takes longer than it should, but you always have to pick yourself back up and keep going.
I love that. I mean, that's a very inspiring thing to say. And I know it's hard to reinvent ourselves all the time, especially like moving to a completely different country. And speaking from my own experience as an immigrant, I've been an immigrant twice. So it's just not only about our own transformation, but accepting a completely different culture. And I think that also transfers to starting a new job or trying to start a new career path, and ultimately it's our passion and that drive that you were mentioning that pushes forward. It's also very difficult. Sometimes we're not motivated. We are just feeling stagnant, and What values or beliefs do you think drive your passion and your commitment to that process?
I'd say in the context of the work I do now as a producer and also running my own production company, I would say I'm very inspired by the power of storytelling, obviously, and how that has the power to inspire change. I'm very much about authenticity and representation, especially being a Black woman myself. I know how easy or how historically people like myself and other people of color in the media, sometimes the negative stereotypes that have been portrayed on screen. And one of the mandates I've given myself and also dictates the kind of projects I take on is making sure that there's authenticity and representation in the room, both in front of and in behind the camera, right? I'm making a film that's like largely a Black cast, then it should be reflective behind the screen, behind the scenes. So your director, your key creative positions have to also be reflective of what is in front of the screen, because we think that this is supposed to be known, but you'll be surprised on how many film sets that you go to and it's not the case, right? And I'm sure you've heard stories, Victoria. So I'd say those are the values that drive me right now at this point in my life and at this point of my journey in my career.
And this can be seen in so many areas of even the film industry. We had another guest in another episode that mentioned how like we have to focus on creating that reality and how we want to feel. This other guest was in animation, and okay, it's so nice to see this animated project, but in the background, there's a lot of hustle and stress and not a very good work life balance behind, and this is projected in everything that we do. And I love that that is a core value for you, because we have to create this
Mhm.
space that we ideally want to be in order for us to feel how we want to feel, because if not, we're going to feel miserable in every single job we have.
I remember one of the first productions I worked on in Canada. And I remember going onto that set, and it was so diverse. And I immediately felt so at home because prior to that, I'd worked at a company where it was a very big animation studio and it's about 400 people. And I kid you not, we weren't up to like five Black people in that company. I remember coming to work every day, going up the elevator with people, and nobody says anything to each other. It was a bit hostile, I'd say. And it's not because anybody has anything against each other. It's just because I guess lived experiences are different. And it's kind of like thing where you feel like maybe this other person won't understand your experience. And instead of actually trying to have a conversation, people just like go mute and don't say anything, or just say good morning and everybody goes on about their day. Or when you go to the lunchroom or when you go to the kitchen, and it was really awkward. And I think I'd just been in Canada about 1 year, right? So 2 years down the line, being getting the opportunity to work on this set I'm talking about, and coming on set and seeing so many different faces, diverse, not just Black people, like people from diverse communities. It was just wonderful. And for me, that was like, this is the ideal work situation. I always strive to want to kind of replicate that kind of work situation. So it's like I want people to feel, just like to your point, you want people to feel comfortable in rooms, because that's how I would want to feel too.
That brings me to another point that I wanted to bring up. This allowed you to understand this is kind of my why. I want to work in film, and I want to create my company where I am able to include others that are aligned with my mindset as well. What do you think it's important for other people to know their why? In your case, like you have expressed that, diversity is important to you and inclusion, but everyone has a different why.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like this is a joke. Obviously, it's like one of my whys is I want to retire at 40 or 45. I don't think I could ever stop working. I love to work. especially if it's something I enjoy. But I want to get to the point in my life where I don't have to worry about money, you know? And it's also one of the things that drive me, and it's one of my whys. But jokes aside, the truth is your why, knowing your why is like a compass, right? Like it helps you, it guides you in whatever endeavor. Like it doesn't even have to be creative. You can also be in another industry. Like knowing why you do what you do, what makes you get up in the morning and is like a guide, it's a compass, and it helps you guide, almost guides whatever decision that you make in your career, right? Especially as you grow older. And then also, like you said, diversity, inclusion, and it guides me in what projects I take on. Like
Mm.
somebody might pitch a project to me and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing, but then I'm like, this doesn't speak to the mandate of my company, and this is not something that I'm proud to put my name on because it just doesn't speak to my experiences. This also guides me in whatever decisions I make in my company, my business, even down to who you hire or who you decide to collaborate with. It's an exercise because it's not something that you just wake up and say, oh, this is my why. No, you have, it's like deep thinking, introspection, because then every day you have different whys and essentially you are directionless, right?
And I'm gonna speak from my own experience and from what I've seen from clients and colleagues. Sometimes we do have a clear idea of what our why will be, but we encounter obstacles in the way that sometimes makes us, give up on that why. We think it's not possible. Like we have all of these expectations and this idea of where we want to be, retire early, or just like do the type of work that we want to do,
Yeah.
not just like do work for the money. And this happens to a lot of creatives in general because we want to do what we're passionate about, not just do work for the sake of work, because then it becomes kind of like the same idea of like a corporate job. But it's a process, and patience is one of the key components of this process. And I still need to remind myself that, I have to be patient in order to feel successful. Because if I just rush and just make decisions based on another person's why, then it probably won't feel like success. It would feel like I'm just
You're
doing
right.
things, and it's not like the go-getter that I'm going to look for the next project where
Yes.
I feel aligned in. And it's tough to be patient. It is.
Yeah. Oh
And
my God. Yeah. It's very tough. Honestly, Victoria, it's very tough to be patient. Before I decided that I'm gonna let my why guide me and be my compass, I used to take on so many projects. At some point, like maybe like last year, if you had asked me, show me your slate of projects, I'm telling you, it was so much. And then you ask yourself, how do you think you have the capacity to actually do this? But this was because I was just excited about the idea that somebody would bring to me. But then I started, like you said, I started to be like, okay, what is my why? What guides me? What are the kind of projects I want to take on? And once I decided that, literally, I started emailing people and saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to be able to work with you on this project, but actually, I don't have the bandwidth to continue. So if you have any other person that you want to pitch this to or take this to, please feel free. I started to remove myself from projects that I didn't believe I was interested in. But it was hard because I was always so excitable and excited. But now it's like I'm a bit more grounded. And, even if somebody pitches an idea to me, I'm still able to say no, you know, and I wish them all the best. I'm not the right person for you, but then I can introduce you to somebody who might be able to help you. Or down the line, if you need some advice or you need to bounce ideas off someone, I'm here for you. But like,
yeah,
I don't want to waste anybody's time too, right?
and it can be seen from outside by others like that is being resistant to like accepting work, but honestly that is being flexible. That is us understanding that we have a different path. This is why, because this is not aligned with what I want to be doing. And that's a
Exactly.
key
Ex-
strategy to understand why am I resistant to not go and get the type of work that I want to get. What's the fear behind it? I've seen in other people and in myself as well that it is a lack of trust that the things that I want to work
Mhm.
on, the results that I want to see, might happen. So we have to trust the
Yep.
process, and that's when
Right.
things
Yeah.
comes back. And how to stay flexible and proactive, right? When we encounter this skepticism on other people, like that doubt, how do you manage that?
Honestly, I feel maybe when I was younger, I'd be like much more resistant. But I think it also maybe something that also comes with age as you grow older. I find that much more open minded, and I'm more open to taking feedback. And it's also, I think, also surrounding yourself with people that you trust, because I find that sometimes people don't really know the power of community. I very much believe in networking sideways, because a lot of times people our age, or people when they're coming up in the industry, they're always trying to like network upwards. I'm like, no, there are people on your level who are also trying to rise and come up in the industry, and these are people that you can bounce ideas off. These are people who are on the same journey as you. These are people that you can trust with feedback, right? And they can also trust you. So do not ignore those people, and those are your peers, right? There's also the importance, obviously, of networking upwards. I'll be honest with you, I'm not the best at networking. It's something that I'm trying to improve, because it comes with being a producer, building relationships, right? Which is also networking. Like, you're not just gonna sit. I'm a homebody. I like to be home, work, watch TV, spend time with my family. But then I said to myself, like, okay, fine, you're doing all this work, but if you don't go out and network, how are people going to be able to put a face to your name? And again, also to bring it back to our industry and Canada, most projects are funded by the government. There are actually people who run those companies, those organizations, right? Like when it comes to like funding, it's also very jury based. So if you don't go out and network and meet them, when they see your name on an application, how are people going to be able to fight for you in rooms that you can't be in, right? So back to your question, you have to be very open minded. You have to see skepticism or doubt as like constructive criticism. It's hard. And I know this is just like me saying this. And sometimes when people say things to you, it might not hit you at the right spot. Don't also take every advice that everybody gives you. You have to actually take it and then like, like go through it and decide which one you want to actually. Exactly.
Yeah, it's that you're gaining experience. It's about practicing, putting yourself out there, and getting that constructive criticism. And the same thing, it's applicable to money matters. Like, a lot of us think that we are supposed to know how to handle money, and when we do something we feel like we are not doing the best, then instead of feeling that that is canceling our will to go and get a new job opportunity, a new contract, or another source of income, call it a grant or something that will allow us to create our work, it's more about this is just a milestone. I can do better, and I can go to that support system, ask for help, or I can research online, start like looking for other sources. It's not just one. We are in such a big world, and there are so many different places where we can get that support. We have to take into consideration just not focusing on one single source for our income, but more like diversifying. And I think this is something that you definitely do in your personal and your professional life. Tell us what's your take on finding sustainable income as creatives?
This is one of the things I like talking about, because I one thing I've always said is that I don't want to be a starving artist. Because one of the things, when I started this career, I was like, okay, I have to find a way to make this sustainable. Because the truth is, sometimes we're always very stuck to, oh my God, I'm a creative and I'm just gonna be. No, you also have to live life, you know. And as I have find a way, I have a diverse skill set beyond being a producer. I'm also good at production accounting, at business affairs, and because of the experience I've been able to garner like over the course of my career, I have people always reach out to me to be like, hey, can I pick your brain on this? Before I used to be like, oh sure, I'll give you my time for free or something. But now I'm like, okay, you can also monetize that, like, because if somebody wants to talk to you for 2 hours in your day, that's 2 hours that you could be making money. Or, and it's like you charge a premium for that, even if it's not very expensive. You charge something because you're also telling that person to respect your time, right? So that's one thing. Consulting is something I do. Second is, as you had mentioned earlier, taking advantage of like grants. There's funding available for creatives. As creatives, as producers, filmmakers, we spend a lot of time in development, in ideating, and you can be working on a script for like a year. In other industries or in other countries, there's no funding available to actually help you through that process, in terms of like taking care of expenses while you're being creative. But in Canada, we're lucky that there's funding available for development, such that while you're in that process of creating, of developing, you actually have your bills taken care of, right? And you can also pay whoever you bring on to collaborate with you on the project. So there's that. There's also, for example, one of the things I do is, because of my experience in the industry, I've been able to meet like people like distributors, sales agents. And so what I also do is I take on other people's films and help them find a home. Say, for example, on a streamer, just try to help them sell their films. I'm not a distributor, but I kind of like act as one, where I take on other people's films and help them sell it, and I take a commission from that. So it's just being strategic, right? Like trying to monetize your skill set, helping people value your time by actually paying to speak to you. And I don't do this all the time. Like sometimes I'll just speak to people without even charging a premium. But like other times when somebody's saying, "Oh, I want to brainstorm," or "I want to pick your brain," or "I want to talk to you for 2 hours," "I want to submit this funding application and I want you to help me. I want you to walk me through it." Then that's actually my skills, and so I have to charge for that, right? In terms of like in producing and creative, that's how I'm able to sustain myself in terms of like money financially.
Now, a special message from our valued sponsors. We are so grateful to our sponsors for playing an integral role in the Money Awareness podcast. Now, welcome back.
We have to try to feel confident about our skill set and how to produce income in different ways.
Yeah.
This is one of the main steps of a core process that I go through in my money coaching practice with the clients. It's just understanding what's our actual live inventory, the set of skills that we can actually monetize, or like those achievements that we are not taking into consideration that actually bring value to our product, to our service, to whatever we are offering. And it goes back to that knowing our why. Why did I learn this? And why am I not applying it in
Exactly.
everything I do? Because I can get
Exactly.
more money from it. This is important, but first, and that will give us that confidence as well. It's like, oh, I didn't know I had this in my pocket, as well to offer to
Exactly.
people.
Exactly.
And it is tough though. It's a process of, like you were saying earlier, is a process of introspection and understanding ourselves and identifying what are the things that are keeping us in that place of resistance, to be able to transform it and see the potential in our skills, in the way that we create things, because it's our creativity that ultimately allows us to be resourceful. If it wasn't for our imagination, then we wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to create
Yeah.
the things that we create. We wouldn't be able to find the job opportunities that we are finding, because it's our vision that actually allowed us to meet someone and created that opportunity for us, or not. We were talking about how it is important to say no, to have like healthy boundaries because of knowing our whys, but it also allows us to say yes to other things, and that allows us to evaluate what are the alternatives, what else is there, what other grants can I apply for, who can I reach out to that will help me see what are the other funding options for my project, and create a
Exactly.
diverse,
Exactly.
and the variety of things that we can create is just infinite, and it's all our imagination or creativity that allows us to go get the things that we need. But we sometimes need that motivation or someone that pushes us. The support system is crucial, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
and support system can be a partner, family member, it could be a coach, it could be just your financial advisor.
Yeah.
um, and based on your
Yeah.
experience in going back to your values, how does diversity in the media industry influence the financial aspect of it? How do you think?
Oh my God. Okay, I'd say for the longest time, I don't know if you knew about this. I remember when Black Panther came out. Do you remember Black Panther? The Marvel film Black Panther, and how, they were very skeptical. They were like, oh my God, this film, they spent so much money. They don't think people are going to come out and watch. When you have a predominantly black cast in your film, the film it's not going to make money, things like that. And look, this film came out, and I think it was the first Marvel film to actually hit $1 billion. And they were like, what? Like, wait, is there like some sort of like untapped audience that we've been ignoring? you know but the audience has always been there, but they never actually created things to speak to that audience, right? So when you actually make content through the lens of diversity and inclusion, it also opens you up to new markets, because everybody wants to see themselves represented on screen, right? And if I see myself represented on screen, I'll definitely want to support whatever it is, right, that speaks to my experience. So that's how diversity impacts. What was the question? Impacts like the financial. Sorry, what was that question? You probably have to cut this out
Yeah,
because now I'm
that's
rambling.
one example. That's one example, yeah, of how like diversity can impact the financial like landscape of the media industry. It's so interesting because imagine all the other audiences and the different aspects that we can tap on if we were diversifying more. And
Exactly.
this also applies to our own finances. That is just one example of how diversity can impact the financial landscape of media. It makes me think of the fact that, for example, here in North America, the productions rely so much on North American content. And when the strike happened in the media industry, that impacted all jobs, all businesses. And if we were diversifying our content, and nowadays it's so easy to produce with other countries, other areas in the world are like untapped. And if we were to like just tap those more, maybe this whole crisis in the economy, in the media industry, wouldn't be so bad as it was. So I think it's important
Yep.
to just start thinking of how are other ways that we can diversify our content in order to create a more stable financial aspect in the industry. And that is also applicable to our
Definitely.
personal business. You know, if we have a small business, having a niche should be there because that's our why. But there are many other areas we can explore to create income to that niche. And it sounds so easy, and like, some other people would probably
Yeah.
be against it because, it's better if you just have one product and you just like focus on that. But speaking from my own experience, and I'm a person that just like has work on so many areas, and I've been always diversified within myself, and it has helped me build a more comprehensive service that allows me to tap in different areas as well. And not everyone has that opportunity, and this is something that I
Hmm.
deeply encourage people to do. It's like what you were doing and what you were saying on, just not
Yeah.
relying on just one source, because especially when we are doing project based work, we know that projects end. They have a start date and an end date. And then after that, we have to tap on another project and so on. So that
Exactly.
we just rely on projects, and one day projects are not there, then we have no other sources of income. So what are the other areas that we can
How do
explore?
you?
Yeah. Any last
Yeah.
advice for navigating the financial aspect of our creative journey that you want to share?
I'm still navigating the financial aspect of my creative journey. But then the thing is, I always encourage people be very adaptable. The industry is changing every day. I also didn't used to do this, and it's something that I'm doing now, and I want to continue doing. If you can afford to go to festivals, go to content markets, because there's all these executives from all these big companies or even smaller companies who come talk, And that's how you also know what's happening in the industry, right? If you can't afford to go, which is okay, you can also read, like, there's industry trades. Like if you're in my industry, there's things like Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, Screen Daily, Variety. Just read things that let you the ever changing trends in the industry. And also, as a small business owner, this is something I do. Make sure that your budgeting is very on point. Like, make sure that you're keeping on top of your taxes. You don't want to be slapped with the tax bill at the end of the year. Like, oh my God, like, how am I owing this much money in taxes? I didn't even make this much money. Like, so, like, just make sure that you are keeping, because I've seen companies that 5 years, they hadn't filed their taxes, they hadn't kept on top of their accounting, and everything is just messy. And to untie all that is just a headache, and it's going to cost you more money to even untie that. So for yourself, like myself, before I actually brought on like maybe an accountant to help me at the end of the year, I actually every day when I buy something, I take a picture of the receipt. I have an Excel spreadsheet where I log everything, because I also can't trust myself to remember, like, oh, 6 months ago I bought something $50, but what was it? I can't remember. But if I've been tracking it, then I would know. Even in your personal life beyond your company, it's good to also try to keep on top of your finances. Like I said, just make sure that you're very adaptable. Keep iterating your business model. Like, you've seen broadcasters now, they're just trying different things, because they're like, okay, the audience is ever dwindling. Nobody's sitting down to watch cable. What are we going to do? We're losing all our subscribers, or all our users, audience, to Netflix, and all of them are like, oh, should we create a streaming platform? Or should we, like, so you just have to keep thinking of like how to, keep evolving or adapting, or obviously, what the core of your business is, but also be open to new ideas. There was a day somebody brought their kids to our house, and they were like, oh, how come you don't see anything that kind of talks about, like, when I watch Canadian TV, I don't see anybody that looks like me, that for me, that was a light bulb moment. I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I can also create content that actually speaks to the experiences of these kids. Keep your ears to the ground, keep your eyes open.
A good thing that I encourage my clients to do is to find out what their core values are. Just make a list of what are some values to you. Oh, integrity, family, friendship, hard work. Many like things will come up to your mind. You make a big list, and then you have to reduce it to three. And ideally, you should just be left with two. Because if you have more than three
Mm,
priorities in your life, then it's not a priority. So having two
mm,
main things to focus on. And usually, what helps in this process is to find out the exact meaning of each word that you have chosen. For example, um, in integrity. Integrity is one of my core values. And I also put in my list honesty and other aspects of it, right? And being responsible. And then when I found the actual meaning of integrity, it also included values of honesty and responsibility towards others and my word. And I was like, okay, this encompasses more than just one trait, but it is integrity
mhm.
ultimately. And then my other value was
Yeah.
well being. And it really helped me just focus on my why, because if it's not aligned with those core values, those two things that are so important to me, then I am going in the wrong way. I am not necessarily finding the right path for me.
Direction.
And it's not me being resistant, it's me being flexible, knowing what is important to me.
Yeah.
Temi, I know you have your own company, and I want you to just elaborate a little bit more so people know about you and your production company.
I run a company called Relo Media. It's very dear to my heart. I'm very passionate about female-led projects and representing underrepresented voices. So most of the projects that you see on my slate are projects that are, one, female-led, two, has some sort of like underrepresented community featured, say, be it Black or person of people of color. And right now we're actively developing 5 projects, And we're lucky to have been able to receive development funding for those projects. We're very passionate about making sure that what is represented on screen is also represented behind the screen. And I'm very proud to say that, over 95% of my collaborators are women and women of color. I'm not perfect. The company is not perfect, but we keep, like I said, we're adaptable. We keep iterating. And so hopefully Relo becomes a household name in the future. So we'll see.
Yes, I envision
How
that.
that goes.
Thank you so much for all your insights and your wisdom
Thank you so
and
much. Thank you.
your will to help and include others. It's important.
Thank you for this opportunity, Victoria. This is what you're doing is very important, and I wish this is just the starting point for you. I wish you all the success with this and all the other things that you do.
Thank you. Same to you.
I hope this episode inspired you to continue charting your path to prosperity, one creative decision at a time. Remember to subscribe, follow, and share TMAP, the Money Awareness Podcast, on your preferred podcast platform and social media. Until next time.